Good afternoon, everyone. We're here today at Syspro headquarters, global ERP provider Syspro. We're talking to Chief Product Officer Paulo de Matos about Syspro's latest product innovation, Business Insights. Now, Paulo, Business Insights is part of Syspro's ERP solution designed to solve a lot of the problems, pain points, challenges experienced by a lot of manufacturing business owners. What was the thinking behind developing Business Insights to the market?
Well, I'm glad, firstly, that you refer to it as an innovation. Quite often people talk about an
enhancement.
Absolutely.
Correct, yes.
And really the way we see it is an innovation really is about solving either a new or an old problem. And if you look at historically how organizations attempt to get information, key information, for their business processes, no matter at what level or what role you operate in that organization, it was always an issue.
A bit clunky, perhaps?
It was clunky, it was cumbersome, etc. So with Business Insights, what we're really focused on is we put the user, the operator, the business process owner, the manager, front and center, and we made sure that we provided a mechanism that he could or she could get whatever information they wish to at any point in time.
I mean, you said earlier clunky with the interface. Traditional interfaces were kind of clunky. So does this new innovation really boost the UX, the user experience?
Absolutely. And it really, if you look at, with the age of social media, people just expect that their interactions with the digitization, consumerization of IT, it's part and parcel of what...
They want it to happen instantly.
They want it to happen instantly, and it's part and parcel of their lives. So it needs to provide them with a journey and to provide them with a story that basically they can access that information which is most pertinent to them, to their role immediately. And that's really what's at the cornerstone of Business Insights. So it's not just about providing information, it's not about providing a report, it's not about providing analytics. But it's more about an organization asking themselves the key questions. First, saying, what should I be providing to each role or to each member that has a role to play within my organization? What are that person's touch points? And what information would be most pertinent to provide to them that would give them visibility into their processes, where they sit into the value chain? And importantly, how can I promote that information to them to promote certain business behavior? So if I'm wanting them to accelerate a particular process, or if I'm wanting them to monitor a particular instance or some event that's happening within the organization, I need to be able to provide them that information, which is most important.
Paulo, you mentioned earlier analytics. Now, there's been a lot of talk around analytics in the past, current and future. How are you differentiating this latest innovation from analytics in ERP?
Right. And that's really, I think, one of the major departure points. When people talked about analytics, and we went through the whole host and a variety of different offerings, that basically it was either a report writer or it was utilizing cubes, and with the cubes came I needed first to go through an ETL, extract, transform process.
Sounds involved.
Very involved. And quite often what it did was it limited the people to be able to get the information that they needed when they needed in order to provide them insight to promote specific business behavior. So by the time you got to what you wanted to get to on the information, that was too late.
Laborious and too late.
Correct. And most importantly, too difficult to change. Too time consuming to create a new view or a new method of extracting information. So what Business Insights brings to the fore is the ability that an organization can provide very simplistically and very quickly a view of a particular instance of data that they are looking to promote, to amplify directly to the operators.
Do you think in the past sometimes traditional old clunky ERP solutions have often been about IT for IT's sake and not really delivered the strong business benefits that business owners want? I mean, much like Business Insights, it's a very business oriented, it's designed to drive business behavior across an organization and enhance competitiveness. Isn't that correct?
Well, that's exactly the view that we took. We said, if you consider that in any organization, you look at an overarching business process. A business process is made up of a series of tasks. They may be performed by one individual or could be performed by a series of individuals. Now, in the traditional sense, you would be throwing, you completed a task and you'd be throwing something over the wall, and the next person or the next link in that chain would take that. So what Business Insights does is it provides you with an opportunity that you can take that whole process and see it as a continuum. And with that continuous process, you can now say, these are the particular monitoring areas that I would like to have within that business process. So how this changes behavior is, for example, and if we just talk non-technical now and back to business in the example.
Please go ahead.
So I could have a scenario that in my business it's absolutely critical that I monitor how many back orders I have at any one point in time. It could be that, for example, I have noticed that if items are on back order, my customers tend to contact me afterwards and cancel the remainder of the back orders.
Right.
So I noticed that as a theme to the business, and now what I want to do is I want to change that business behavior. I want to make sure that the people that are involved in constantly checking if there's stock available to fulfill those orders so that those orders can be shipped out, those back orders can be fulfilled. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be creating, in this instance, a metric, and I'm going to be highlighting to them how many back orders are in the system at any one point in time.
So boosting visibility across the organization.
Boosting visibility, and I'm doing it from a user experience perspective, in a very simple, elegant, and we can almost call it a pretty interface that someone can see, almost like a ticket counter.
Easy to use.
Easy to use. Intuitive, and they can click on it and they can drill down into the detail. Importantly, we haven't tried to create a library of hundreds of thousands of these metrics or KPIs.
Sure. Lost in the detail.
Lost in the detail, and there's an acknowledgement that every company is different. One company's competitive advantage is different from the other. What they want to measure in each particular area will be different from another. So we needed to provide not only a standard library that people could utilize, and we do have plans to be producing industry-specific metrics and KPIs, but to allow organizations and to empower them to be able to create them very quickly and very easily.
So very customizable, scalable?
Very customizable, very scalable. And importantly, it doesn't actually degrade the performance of the system because it's running on a completely separate thread.
So every company can basically customize and tailor-make whatever process works for them, what's most important to them, regardless of the size of the organization, the staff complement? That's
exactly correct. And it's an acknowledgement that if you look at, for example, the very basis of a value chain, there's some activities that you want to promote, the value adding, and you are trying to create some of them to be more efficient, some of them you're trying to drive cost, and how would you do that? You could utilize Business Insights to make sure that you have the visibility of each KPI or metric designed particular for a role or for a function, present and visible as part and parcel of that person's interactions with your business.
So every business, depending on what sector they're in, could actually tailor-make the processes. For example, food and beverage, for example, maybe lots traceability, reducing wastage across the supply chain might be a benefit. Metal fabrication, maybe cut down on offcuts, metal wastage, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. Conversion rates from quotations. In food or beverage, it could be, as you said, items very particular to regulatory lot traceability, any other industry. So you could tailor these KPIs and these metrics to any one of those areas.
What about, you were talking earlier about millennial behavior, for example. But also in the past, Paulo, you've spoken about the consumerization of IT. Is this having any kind of impact on how you're developing your innovative technologies?
I would say it's at the forefront of it. And it's an appreciation that, let's look at a Generation Y as an example. If they can't find a problem to a solution to a particular problem, their first port of call is to go look for an app that does that. And they're used to browsing and searching for an app, and they will select the app that is simplest to use and answers that particular question the best. So in that regard, we are looking at the third generation entering into a workforce. In fact, many organizations already have 3 different generational cohorts operating in them. And their expectation of the systems that they engage with, it needs to be mobile, it needs to be available wherever they are. It's part and parcel of their DNA.
Always on, 24/7.
Absolutely. And it needs to be very simple to engage with, and it needs to be rewarding. And that really looks at the transformation from, if you looked at ERP systems traditionally, I guess you could classify them as systems of transactional record. And really what we're doing is everything we're focusing on new innovations we're putting into the application, is that transition from a system of record or a system of transaction to a system of engagement. We want to ensure that every interaction between the operators or the users of Syspro, the application, is a rewarding experience. And the best way you can do that is by ensuring that that touch point that they're trying to do with the system is fast, it's efficient, it's simple and it's engaging, the user interface is pleasing, and it's rewarding. In other words, they get something out of it immediately. So that is our focus area, and certainly Business Insights falls into that category, as it provides the level of visibility of the information that is most pertinent to the user, and it places them at the center of their engagement with the system.
Let's talk a bit more about some of the benefits / features of this new product innovation. I believe it also gives you one view of what's happening across the supply chain. You can come in and out of it without having to change. Nice and intuitive, easy to use, almost anticipating your needs.
Yes, because it provides you with the ability for you to establish per role a workbench. And this is something that we're going to be releasing in Syspro 8, which is our new product that's very due for launch. And in Syspro 8 you will actually be able to configure a complete roles workbench. And that workbench provides a single or one view of everything that operator needs in order to operate from a cradle to grave type journey in their environment and all of their touch points within the system. So that means from information delivery to shortcuts to particular views, to be able to be having conversations from a social ERP utilizing Syspro Harmony, to be following information, utilizing elements from social platforms directly in ERP, Business Insights, an ability for them to have all of their metrics, all of their KPIs, and measuring and telling them how they are performing against them, right down to all of the functions that they need to perform in their role.
A lot of people talk about the rise of automation generally, but also especially in manufacturing and distribution. The Internet of Things, the digital ecosphere. Are you seeing this latest innovation as part of that surge in innovation generally in manufacturing?
Most definitely. And it was that appreciation that we understand that the technological journey that organizations are facing today, be it Internet of Things, or it could be with the use of bots, digital citizens within the organization, it could be cobots, which is the collaborative human and robots on production lines. It means that with that level of collaboration, you need to be able to have almost sort of a placeholder, an ability in the system to engage with other external systems. So when we designed Business Insights, we made sure that we catered for the fact that the insights were not just relevant to information that is stored in the central repository of Syspro itself, but it could easily interact with any other data from other sources. So your Internet of Things, be it your cobot platforms, or in fact any of your digital citizens and your chatbots. Those views of that information could be surfaced in Business Insights too.
Is it true that there's more and more increasing competition amongst ERP providers? Because the challenges for manufacturing business owners, for example, are mounting all the time in the face of increased competition. Is that also driving then the sort of product life cycle of ERP development and solutions?
I think it is changing it. It's definitely looking at aspects of agility. So in the past, where ERP systems would, for example, develop much longer product cycles, what we're looking at doing is deploying smaller chunks first, testing the market, adapting to it a lot quicker, which is making us a lot more agile, and also reacting to the forces that organizations are facing in their business.
And also future-proof a business owner's business, doesn't it? I mean, if you know that you have got the latest product innovations in your solution, it's going to give you some confidence for the future, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's what Business Insights tries to do. It delivers a platform that organizations can utilize to ensure that they are promoting the correct business behavior, be it whether they are trying to become more efficient, cost efficient in some areas, or trying to promote some better activity or some better processes. And that, in a nutshell, is Business Insights.
Fantastic. Paulo de Matos, Chief Product Officer for Syspro. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining us this afternoon. Please stay tuned for the latest innovations in ERP. Please send us your comments and questions on Facebook and Twitter using the hashtag Syspro1ViewLive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.